And so, I can't wait to get started, so let's begin. We're gonna go with a new game, but I just want to note that this game had a versus mode before Shadow Dragon did. I don't want to lean too hard into the Saga did it first meme for this playthrough though, just to mention, although I'm pretty sure I'm going to get a ton of it in the comment section. Anyway, let's begin a new file. As we start, we're treated to an opening scroll explaining a lot of the backstory of this world. I was going to narrate this, but it goes by a little bit too quickly for me to read. So, basically, there was a war in the past against a dark god, like is the case in a certain other series that will not be named, and the dark god was defeated by a hero with the help of a goddess, again, much like the backstories and those things, but this time the hero and the goddess ended up getting together. It's like if that fanfic about Seros and Wilhelm in Three Houses was true. And their descendants formed the four main nations of this continent. But then a second war started, more recently, where the cult of Garrow revived itself, leading to the King of Canaan to start conquering territories to build up strength against the cult, and then things got kind of complicated. Then he joined the cult, and became a full-on evil empire and tried to take over the world. So, this might seem a little confusing at first. You've got 3 wars to keep track of, but this game's story is actually a lot simpler than you might think, so don't worry too much. Much of the details of the wars and the world itself will be explained as we go through. It is a bit of an issue that some people have getting into TearRing Saga, that Saga really went all in on world building in this game, and a lot of the world building is front-loaded to you pretty early on. And again, it can get a little hard to follow at first. It does get better though, trust me. So here we are with our 2 heroes, Holmes and this guy, who just got finished dyeing his hair so they wouldn't get sued. No, really. In fact, his hair color was changed so last minute that his original hair is still in the game's files, as is this game's original title screen saying Emblem Saga. So we have a young lord fleeing from the Empire, going on a ship to an island nation that is vaguely allied with his home country that just got conquered. Again, this might remind you of something. He also has a rapier. And he has an old retainer knight, who also acts as his trusted advisor, who also loves to lecture the younger knights. But is still a respected warrior nonetheless. However, this is not a Fire Emblem game, because this old knight is not actually playable. Although then again, that was also the case in Fire Emblem 3, so maybe it is. So they are kind of justifying why we only have some fresh recruits along with Sir Eugen. It's just because everyone else is busy on the mainland fighting the main fight. And yes, they also justify why he's not playable. As for who these young knights are, we'll meet them soon enough. First introduction to this guy Holmes, who is Holmes is interesting. He is an archer main character who is also a bit of a meme lord, long before Claude existed, but he's a meme lord in a different way than Claude is, don't worry. So yes, Holmes' father held off the Imperial Army while we escaped, and he's the father of a main character. But, you know, again, this isn't Fire Emblem, so maybe he'll survive. Maybe. As Holmes is saying. Thing is, Holmes' dad is kind of a jerk, so maybe it's a bad thing if he survived. Admiral Vals, that's his name. already teasing the fact that we'll probably have to take back our homeland sooner or later. Well, I mean, don't forget, Holmes, that we're in the middle of a war right now. It's like, you know, people all over the continent are fighting and dying, and Holmes is like, yay, adventure! Holmes is definitely interesting, though. He has very different motivations to the average main character in a game like this, but we'll see that later on. So yeah, Holmes in a lot of ways actually feels more like a traditional JRPG protagonist than a Fire Emblem protagonist. Rudin, on the other hand, is, yeah, he's pretty typical protagonist, Lord Fair. He's gonna fight the good fight to retake his homeland from the Empire. And finally getting to meet this elusive Eugen. And yeah, that's actually how it's pronounced if you look at the katakana. It's a pretty fancy way of saying land ho. Port Sora's been translated various different ways in some of the different fan translations this game has had, but Sora, I don't know, it's always just made me think of like a place where dinosaurs would be. Fire Emblem with dinosaurs, that would be interesting. I mean, we already, you know, have dragons, and, you know, a lot of people think that dragons actually, legends of them came from dinosaur fossils, so it's probably the same thing. But anyway, our ship has finally come in, and we only get to hear a few seconds of this amazing song. Don't worry, we'll get to hear more of it later. Here we are, making land at Port Sora. Wait a minute, we're on a pirate ship? Yeah, so apparently Holmes is kind of a pirate. We didn't really, get that earlier. Holmes, again, is great. We actually just passed by it on the world map before. So here's another way in which this game is not like Fire Emblem. Well, one, instead of early game bandits, it's early game pirates, and two, well, one of the main characters is a pirate, and three, it's actually not the original main character who's going to be fighting bandits at the start of the game. It's actually the secondary main character who's going to be fighting the early game pirates off screen. Yeah, Sea Lion, there've been all these different, like, there's been a lot of debate over how to translate that, whether they mean the actual animal sea lion, or whether they mean, like, an actual lion, but one who travels on the sea. I kind of think sea lion sounds cooler. But in addition to all of our greenhorns, and Eugen, who isn't fighting, we also get this guy. We'll see what he's like in a moment. He's, I mean, he's gonna try and help us, but, the number 4 is gonna be, his nemesis. That won't make sense for a little bit, but, trust me, I'll explain that in a bit. If you played this game, you probably know what I'm talking about. So yeah, we already have a seafarer theme going on with one of the main characters, but it's not actually who we're controlling right now. It's time for Chapter 1, Arrival at Welt. Or Velt, I don't know how that's supposed to be pronounced. I guess I didn't look at the katakana for that, I should have. But yeah, here is our introductory map. And look, we have a red and green knight, big surprise. Yeah, I mean, it would kind of suck if we landed in territory that wasn't sympathetic to our cause. We just get off and they're like, oh yeah, by the way, we decided to side with the Empire. Yeah, and then they just kill us. So yes, this is the current war that's going on, not any of the earlier wars. And King Raphael had that name long before Three Houses existed, so yeah, although, again, that's another name that's gone through various different forms over the course of different fan translations. It's been Rothal, Lothrau, and now Raphael. I'm not really sure, like, which one I like the best, honestly. I feel like Raphael's a bit of a, I don't know, I just can't not think of the peasant character from Three Houses now. It just doesn't really sound like a very kingly name to me after I played that game. No offense to anyone who's actually named Raphael in real life. I mean, I really like Raphael in Soul Calibur, but that's beside the point. So, we need to speak with these citizens here and gather some information. In other words, we're going to be visiting some houses and villages. The way they actually set this out is really interesting. There are no enemies on the map initially, so you have a bit of a, it's almost like a bit of an anti-piece in a platformer. You have a bit of a safe area to just get a feel for the movement controls without any enemies to attack you. And so, this is our Red Knight, Chryse, and his Green Knight companion, Arcus. And also Garrow the Pirate. However, that's not to say that we're not totally in danger. I mean, Runen and company might not be in danger, but some other people are. So the character we're seeing now is actually really interesting. You'll notice that they have multiple different face portraits for different expressions. For some reason, they are one of the only characters in this game who's like that, and I'm not really sure why. It's really weird. Oh no, the enemy of all brave warriors, sprained ankles. And rescuing doesn't exist in this game, so it's not like this person can carry her. Whose name is Kate, by the way. Well, this isn't like a full-on JRPG, we don't have inns that fully heal us. As always, we have the loyal retainer saying, I'll sacrifice myself here, while you go on ahead. Then the Lord is like, no, don't do it, you're my friend, not my retainer, and yeah, pretty common dynamic. Also, who's Coda? Well, I guess we'll find that out a bit later. So yeah, yet again throwing their life away. Thankfully, we're nearby to hopefully help out. But we can't actually get there yet because there's a bridge in the way that won't let us pass, and this bridge is going to stay up for actually a few turns. So these two here are NPCs. You might notice that Sasha has a star next to her name, and if we go over here, Runen also has a star next to his name. Star-named characters mean that if they die, you get a game over. So, this here is Runen, heir to Rosalia, our main lord, and here's the status screen. I'm going to talk more about what the various stats mean a bit later. You can press the square button to bring up some controls. And you can press the triangle button to look at your character's equipment, and if you press triangle again, you can see their stats. I do wish the stats were like the default view here. I'll talk more about how these stats impact things later. Now remember as well, this is a Japanese PlayStation game, so it's actually circle to confirm and X to cancel. I've remapped those in my controller settings though, just because I'm used to the opposite. So next here we have Arcus, and then we have Chryse, who has this javelin here. note that mastery of 5. So this game uses a mastery system instead of the weapon ranks from the main Fire Emblem games. Well, I mean, at this point, really the only game that had those was Thracia, but anyway. This works the way it did in Fire Emblem 1 and 3. This goes up with level ups, and you need mastery equal to or less than the mastery of a weapon in order to use that. So, for example, you need 3 or more mastery to use an iron sword. Remember this for a little bit later. Also on stat screens, you can see what item you need to class change and what you'll class change into, as well as characters that this character gains a support bonus from, I think. And we also have some other things. This is interesting, but I'll talk more about this later. This is also very interesting, but I'll talk about that later. We won't really get into that now. This is something that I love about TearRing Saga, by the way. Main Fire Emblem never really publicly makes it clear what movement costs on various terrains each class has. I just love this, that you can actually see. For example, Cavaliers can't go in rivers, shoals, anything with a dash, but they can go in plains and roads, and they suffer a 3 movement, like every 1 square of woods costs them 3 spaces of movement. Meanwhile, Runen, if we go here, he can cross much more types of terrain and only has a 2 movement cost for woods. And then we have Garrow. Now, Garrow has some pretty solid looking stats, but unfortunately, he only has 4 movements. He's supposed to be the Jagan at this point, but he doesn't really do a great job of it because he just can't get anywhere that he's needed. So, I should be giving bios to these characters, but between them and Sasha and Kate, who are going to be joining in this map anyway, that's 6 characters to talk about, and Sasha herself is very special, and she's going to take a while to go over. I'm going to actually put everybody's bios in one video for this, like in their own video. So, watch that separate video. It should be up at the same time this is up. For now, we're just gonna worry about visiting all of these houses. There's an armory and a shop here, but again, we'll talk about that later. Now, this house with the blue roof is particularly special. If we have Garrow go there, nothing is really gonna happen. But if we have someone else, say Arcus, go here... I mean, something will happen if we bring Garrow here, it's just that he won't get any benefit from it whatsoever. You'll see why. So this is a Naval Academy. This is one of these, like, you'll see a lot of these kinds of academies throughout the game. And here, he's going to train soldiers in the art of fighting on the high seas. So yes, this being a kind of medieval fantasy, of course, there are bandits and pirates all over the place. So he's going to offer to teach us the skill Seafarer. You can only use this house once. There's a way to get back to maps later in the game, but even if you get back to this map, if you've used this house before, you won't be able to use it again. I'm going to teach Arcus Seafarer, and it's actually not for its gameplay benefits at all. Because, really... You'll see in a bit, but I personally don't find the Seafarer skill to be all that useful. I'm actually giving this to Arcus just to give him something unique. And, the reason for that is not going to become apparent for a very long time. I just wanted to show off how learning skills works. Some houses will teach you skills, some characters will learn skills by leveling up, and some classes start out with skills automatically. Some characters will also learn skills immediately on promotion. So, Seafarer. This is one of the terrain skills in this game. These skills all work the same way, just for different terrain. They give you plus 10% to hit and evasion, as well as plus 1 movement on any map that matches their terrain type. And I mean map and not terrain. So this place looks like a coast, it's a port town, right? You think this would be considered a sea map? No! Runen, on the other hand, has the Urbanite skill, which gives plus 10 hit and avoid and plus 1 move on city maps, but he's still at his base movement of 5. Even though this is a port town, this is not considered a city map. This map is actually considered a plains map, for some reason. So, none of our terrain skills are going to be active here, and yeah, Garrow starts out with Seafarer, as you'd expect from a pirate like him, so if he enters that house, then he's not going to get any benefit. The guy will just send him away saying, "You're already a tough man of the sea, and I can't teach you anymore." So I think I'll visit, let's go ahead and visit this house next. I remember what you get out of most of these places, but I don't remember exactly which house gives what, so I guess I'll be a bit surprised here. And like a lot of the Kaga Fire Emblem games, there's different music for visiting houses and villages. I like that, and I kind of wish that the other games did that too. So we're getting a little bit of backstory on what's actually going on here. This is something that I really miss from the more modern Fire Emblem games. Just getting to talk to actual civilians and seeing what they think of the war and of the world's politics. So, yeah, the king left to fight in a battle and didn't come back, and so the king's jerk, corrupt chancellor took this opportunity to jump in and take over the place in his stead. And he's been running everything into the ground, and all of the locals hate him. But he's bullying everyone with troops, and so they can't do anything about it. Well, thankfully, some knights have arrived, and, well, you know, we're gonna be the ones to do something about it. Well, your king might not be here, but a good prince is nearby. So we're gonna get an item out of this. A shield. This is a new type of item to TearRing Saga. Shields are interesting, and you'll want to learn how they work because we're going to be seeing a lot of them. In fact, you might have noticed already that Kate had a shield. Yeah, it's always better to be actually using something practically than having it sit around as an ornament. So, characters have different inventories for weapons and items. The leather shield, while you have this in your inventory, you don't need to equip it or anything. Your defense is treated as 4 points higher than it actually is, so Rudin is treated as having defense 8 now. But every time you get hit, the shield's durability goes down by 1, and the battle screen will tell you if one of your shields breaks. So I think I'm gonna have Christ head to... It doesn't really matter exactly which villages we visit first. We can't go to the mainland yet anyway, and we have more than enough movement to get everything before we reach there. Well, that's at least a relief for now. Small kingdom, not a real threat. At the same time, though, it means that they're not going to send troops to help us with our evil chancellor situation. Well, I mean, you never know. They did say that they never found his body. I still find it kind of insane that I'm actually quoted on TV tropes on the quotes page for never found the body. Just what I said about the Black Knight in my Radiant Dawn playthrough. But anyway. Now, I think I know which house this is. I think this is that really interesting one. Yes, it is. Okay, this is going to let me introduce a different mechanic. So what does he mean by that? This is not just any iron sword, it's a special one. So we have Chris's iron sword that he started with. Now if you look at this one, you'll notice that it says critical +1. This iron sword starts with 50 kills on it, I think 51 kills on it already. And yes, this means that Kaga did bring back that mechanic from Fire Emblem 4, Genealogy of the Holy War. I'm gonna end my turn for now, and talk about this while these two are fleeing from, as you'll soon see, enemy turn 1, but there are no enemies. And there are now. What I was saying was that Kaga brought back the kill count mechanic from Fire Emblem 4. When a weapon gets 50 kills on it, every additional kill that the weapon gets gives it +1 to its critical rate, up to a maximum of an additional 50 for +50 critical. Now in this game, you can't repair weapons as easily as you could in Fire Emblem 4. You can repair them via special items, but they're a little hard to come by, and I honestly find that the vast majority of weapons that aren't this special iron sword, and a few other special weapons we'll be getting later that are very similar, it's very unlikely that you'll be reaching 100 kills on anything anytime soon, so you might want to keep a hold of this iron sword. It's gonna serve you pretty well for a while. So, Duke Coda just appeared. I don't think he gave his name, but it's pretty obvious who he is, and sent a few Graham soldiers after us, including a Lance Knight, a Spearman, and some archers, along with Commander Russ. Because they lost Commander Ross, but they had a spare. I don't know who's going to get that, but anyway. So this guy's an armor knight, and they only have 3 movement in this game. And 2 movement cost over woods. So, yeah, they're not going to be reaching Sasha and Kate anytime soon. So, we still have some time, though, to visit more villages. And I think I might actually give that special Iron Sword over to Runen. And to set that up, I'm going to have Runen visit this house, and then have Christ visit the other, and then I guess we can trade later, because this game does let you trade. Okay, I thought you were going to say King Raphael, but no, it's someone else. Okay then, maybe we should arrange a meeting with this Count Marlon. So why didn't he become Chancellor? I always like just, you know, these villages, just getting to see the common citizens' perspective on the local politics, like I said before. Yeah, I'm sure it would. You get some pretty fun dialogue from villagers too. Thankfully, anyone can visit villages in this game. It's not like the early Saga games where only Marth could do it. Miracle Charm, another very interesting item. The Miracle Charm will block 1 fatal attack, but it doesn't heal you. So, if you were to, say, be on 2 HP, and get attacked by an enemy and get hit, the Miracle Charm would break, but you'll still be on 2 HP. So if another enemy hits you, you'll probably still die. So Miracle Charms, don't put too much faith in them. They can save you sometimes, but really, you want to rely on just being healthy at all times and not risking yourself overall, especially because we actually need that Miracle Charm for a side quest later, so I want to try and hold on to that and make sure I don't use it. There is a second Miracle Charm. You have to basically keep 1 Miracle Charm for the entire first arc. And there's a second Miracle Charm during this arc, but that one, let's just say it's not 100% guaranteed that you'll end up getting it, due to the way that things work out in the particular map where it's obtained. But anyway, so medicine, okay. We also find out that Holmes is operating a pirate ship. We get a Master Potion from that. That's an item that raises Mastery by 3, I believe. I like how they went out of the way to actually make, like, unique icons for, like, unique artwork for all of these items. So, Arcus cannot use javelins at base, but Christ can. If he were to use this Mastery Potion, he could use Christ's javelin if we needed to trade that around. But I'm going to save the Mastery Potion for someone else. And I'm going to try to avoid, like, the Elixir Syndrome or Too Awesome to Use Syndrome that I suffered from in some of my earlier Fire Emblem playthroughs. Stat boosters are worth nothing if you don't use them as soon as possible, and I want to try and use this as soon as I can. Well, I mean, it was others who held off the army, but don't insult us by calling us a bunch of kids. We're perfectly capable. And so we can have an herb. To quote my Radiant Dawn playthrough, this is a healing item, just heals 10 HP. Pretty useful at this point in the game, because we don't have a staff user at this point. And yes, there are staff users in this game, just like a certain other series this game's developer worked on. Now, if we had a bridge key, we actually could lower that ourselves, but we don't have a bridge key, and we can't have a bridge key at this point. And that's the only house in this chapter that doesn't give us an item. So, yeah, nothing else left to do but end our turn again. This is actually a pretty nice enemy phase theme, though we're not going to hear it for that much longer. Don't know why that archer is just sneaking around the woods there, but as you can see, bridge is still up, there's not much we can do, but the enemies here are getting close to these two, but why can't we see any orange attack ranges? Well, this is something about this game that I find kind of weird. We want to go into settings here, and go to, where is it? Unit info, here we go, unit info. So there are a lot of other stats here, and also, yes, you can choose whether to display stats with English abbreviations or in Japanese. That's pointless because this is a fan translation and they'll be in English anyway. I believe this is like the combat forecast, and you can kind of turn that off, but what I want to go for here is movement indicator. You want to set this to 4. I don't know why this isn't the default option, but 4 is movement and attack ranges for both allies and enemies. Again, I don't know why that's not the default, but for some reason, it's not the default. And now, I'm going to go over here and go item trade to Christ. You can trade just like Fire Emblem games. I'm going to give you that special iron sword. Technically, Christ needs that miracle charm for later, but I'm gonna actually, if I do trade, yeah, we already have a supply convoy right now. This could be famous last words, but I'm gonna put the miracle charm in the convoy just because I need to use that for a side quest a bit later on in the game. And now I suppose we can get as close as we can, so we can rush out when the tide comes in. I suppose while I'm here I can show off the armory in the shop. Unless you really, really, really want something, like an extra slim lance or something or other, you don't really need to buy anything at this point. And if you press, what's that say, B, but if you press back twice, you can actually get out of the armory without wasting your movement for the turn, which is pretty cool. And here's Not Aimee. And all we can buy here are a leather shield and an herb. If you feel a little bit underconfident for the coming fight, you can actually buy another shield here. Because, again, Kate already starts with one, but honestly it's better in Sasha's hands because she's a lot weaker. Though Kate isn't exactly a paragon of endurance herself. Also, we can check out conditions here. Goal is route, so we'll be reaping all of the experience from this. You might also notice the army scores there. That's the sum of all of the score stats at F1, something that you might have seen on the status screens, but I'll get into that once we actually cover combat, because score has an important function in combat in this game, unlike in Fire Emblem Awakening, where it was really stupid. I don't know why it was even in the game to begin with. I think I mentioned that at length in my Awakening playthrough. I really don't know why they even did that, but yeah, the drawbridge is still up. It won't go down until turn 5. And at this point, I've pretty much shown everything that I can. Except in settings, you can do things like change the volume, the game speed, or even do this and like increase the red, green, and blue individually in the window, or change this to various, in my opinion, very ugly looking wallpaper. Like this one in particular looks horrible. So I'm going to stick with the default wallpaper on that. Also, there's a vibration function in this game, but, you know, I'm not going to feel that because I don't have I don't even know if you can do vibration on a PC. Yeah, you can choose to show the grid, but I honestly think the maps are better if look better if you don't. Oh, also, if we press the, that's not the right button, is it the select button? Yeah, there we go. We can see another fairly ugly looking thing, but in this case it's a view of the whole map. And yeah, really nothing else to do but end the turn. So I feel like those two are going to get attacked in a moment. First battle, and it isn't even us. Thankfully, Kate, despite being partially a bow user, are meant to equip a sword for this occasion. Okay, the bridge is down. We can finally help and actually start fighting things. Not that Runen and co actually know there's a battle going on right now. And also, if we check Runen's stats screen, you can see Talk to Sasha. I like that, but I mean, it's a little obtuse at first, but that lets us know that we can move Runen down here, though I do want to be a little bit careful, because obviously if he dies, it's all over. Same for Sasha. Actually, who has the... You have the Master Potion. Okay, I need to get that Master Potion to a certain someone, but before I do that, let's go ahead and talk to Sasha. Yeah, see, she even has like a sad-looking, looking straight forward portrait. They put a lot of effort into Sasha's portraits, but it's just kind of... I'll get to why I feel like that's weird a bit later. And recruiting Sasha automatically recruits Kate as well, which is helpful. We don't have to take the time to talk to both of them. So, both Sasha and Kate are fully controllable now. And Sasha herself is, she's pretty weak at this point. But I do want to try and kill some things with her if I can. Okay, let me just try something. I'm gonna get Garrow down there. Also, Arcus is another not exactly a paragon of endurance. Arcus is in danger in this chapter if you aren't careful, so... To start things out, I think I will... Okay, the only way Christ can fight this thing is with a javelin. So now that we're getting into combat, I want to talk about one of the major things of this game that might trip people up if they've played mainline Fire Emblem. You do not get a direct readout of how much damage that you're going to do. You actually have to subtract the enemy's defense from your attack. So in this case, I'll be doing 11 damage with this javelin, but you might also want to take note of your AS, or attack speed. In this game, you need to have 5 or higher attack speed than your opponent to double. So, Christ has -5, and this guy has -1. Oh, I should also probably mention exactly what attack speed is. It's just speed minus your weapon's weight. There is no offset for weight in this game. Like, no strength, no constitution. You're taking that penalty to speed no matter what. And I like this system overall. I kind of prefer it to constitution or other things, but anyway. So, Christ with -5 attack speed from the javelin is not at risk of being doubled by this guy because he has such pathetic speed that he has -6 attack speed, -9, and you have -2. So even with such a horrible speed modifier, I don't think anybody here is going to double Christ. They would need 0 attack speed or more in order to double him, which sounds weird that nothing here has, which sounds weird, but yeah, the enemies here always have below 0. So, let's begin combat. Now, you might notice that Christ has a 10% critical rate. Critical hits in this game work differently to how they do in mainline Fire Emblem, but I'll talk about that for the first time somebody gets an actual crit. Let's see. Just want to be careful that, because I want to try and get a little bit of experience for Sasha here, but at the same time, obviously, I don't want, Sasha to die, and her taking a big hit early on would be bad because we don't have any healers right now. At the same time, though, okay, this is going to seem dumb now, but I think at this point you know who I'm going to give that Master Potion to. So, yeah. Sasha can use the S-Stock with the Master Potion, and that's not really the main reason why I want to give her the Master Potion. I have the same attack speed with both of these, I just have 10 more hit with the Slim Lance, so I'll use the Slim Lance, and I will trade you the Master Potion. So another thing to note in this game, if you're used to modern Fire Emblem, is that there's no weapon triangle in this game. So just equip whatever weapon gives you the best stats in the given moment. So let's have you drink that potion. With that, you can use the S-Stock. And also, it'll get you one step closer to using something else way later on in the game. Not way later on, reasonably later on. Okay, come on, negative attack speed, guys. Let's see what you got. Aha, you're going for Christ, because obviously Christ is not going to, he's going to have less of a chance of doubling you, because you have -6 and Christ has, I like the Cavalier dodge animation in this game, though, like, they kind of block with their spears. But yeah, he's not going to double. The enemy AI is actually reasonably smart in a lot of cases in this game. So yeah, these guys have crossbows. Crossbows existed in this game before they did in Ready at Dawn, and as you can see there, yeah, Arcus actually gets hurt pretty badly by these enemies. So you'll want to be a little bit careful of him. It'll be kind of embarrassing to have somebody die in the first chapter, after all. We should be able to overwhelm and kill off these guys quickly, though. Now, the problem with Sasha is she only has 5 attack, and this guy has 2 defense, so she's doing 3 damage with her normal attack, but she's going to double him. And then there's the S-Stock, which is weight 2, has 1 more attack power, so Okay, she'll do exactly enough to kill that guy if she hits both of her S-Dock attacks, but that could be dangerous for her if she doesn't. I'm gonna first have... Okay, Runan does have his shield, so he does have 8 defense. Yes, some math ability is useful if you're playing this game. This does give me much less of a hit rate, but it also would possibly give me more kills in the weapon, although that is not going to finish you off. That would be a safer enemy for Sasha to finish, though. So maybe I should actually do that. Yeah, the Rapier won't even do as much, but the Rapier is going to give me a guaranteed hit. I'll just go for the Iron Sword. You get used to doing the calculations of attack versus defense in your head. Runan actually does have a pretty cool looking battle model and a decent, decent battle animations too. So, now, the princess is just gonna poke this guy to death, hopefully. Only 71 hit though. S-Dock is a lot more accurate, and that's honestly the main reason I gave it to her. Not so much for the added effect of the S-Dock, which we'll be seeing hopefully soon. It's also got a good crit rate, but that might be due to Sasha having really good support for a lot of characters. So Sasha gained a pretty good amount of experience from that enemy. And that's actually where score comes into play. So score, your score versus the enemy's score, determines how much experience they give you. So Runan with a score of 90 would have got a lot less experience from killing that enemy than Sasha with her score of 52, which is pretty low. Okay, I can actually pick that guy off with Kate if I wanted to. Maybe I'll do that. So, crossbows. Unlike Radiant Dawn, which was in the future at this point, so there's no way they could even be like Radiant Dawn, they're not 1-2 range, and they do use your strength stat and have their own might. Really, in this game, all crossbows are just very heavy, very accurate bows. So yeah, you can see they're weight 10, and that's going to weigh down the enemy archers quite a bit. Okay, we've got 2 things that can attack Runan right now. The question is, do I want to run in with one of my knights, or do I want to... I think I'd rather let the enemies come to us for now. Garrow has 6 defense, which is actually I think the highest we've got right now, besides people with shields. So I think I'll get Garrow over here. It's just the problem is 4 movement means that he just can't get anywhere he needs to. Sasha also has 4 movement, which means training her early in the game is a pretty big pain. Okay, you do not have Anne Herb. Who's the one who has... Oh, Garrow has the Anne Herb. Yeah, they're not going to go for Christ with the Javelin anyway, even if I do equip it, but... So I guess I should equip something that is a little lighter. Don't think anything can attack Arcus right now. I'd like to do this chapter without healing Arcus if at all possible, because I mean, you know, it's... I would say it's good to save resources, but at the same time, you know, it's not like these herbs are going to be super useful later in the game. The enemy phase battle theme just sounds so dire in this game. It's just really kind of almost melodramatic to me. It's like, oh no, we're getting attacked! Oh, okay, you know, I had a feeling. I was like, the moment that I unequip the Javelin on Christ, the Archer's going to attack him. Enemy AI is a little bit weird as to whether it can see shields or not. Some enemies don't, like, ignore shields when prioritizing targets, and some don't. Like, some of them actually do know about shields. Which is kind of weird. Okay, Sasha can take this guy out. I don't like having to use the S-Dock, but at the same time, I don't want to miss. Because this game doesn't use true hits. You get 1 RM. Ran a number between 0 and 100, and yeah, that determines whether your attack hits or misses. No safety nets. Strength and speed, pretty much exactly what I'd like to see from you. Especially strength, because her strength growth is only 20%, which actually isn't bad by this game's standards, because this game has some pretty low-ish growth rates in general. Okay. Russ. Okay, firstly, I think I'll take this guy out with Christ. 13 to... That's 11. That means that I will successfully 1-round kill this guy. 15 crit too, because of his support with Arcus and Runan, I think. Oh yeah, supports give a boost to hit, avoid, critical, and critical avoid. Not an amazing level up from Christ, but it's at least one level closer to a promotion, which is what I want him to be. And finally, Garrow gets to do something. So Tomahawks are sort of interesting because they're reasonably light for an axe by this game's axe standards, and they're also 1 to 2 range. They're also a pretty early game weapon, unlike in later Fire Emblems where they're really... In fact, I think the Tomahawk first appeared in FE6, which was after this game. Pretty generic boss quote overall. Yep, that's 1 RN for you. Does a pretty good amount of damage, though. So, this guy, even, like, with his low movement, low attack speed, he's not that hard of a boss, and also Runan's Rapier is effective against Armor Knights, and Runan can very easily take this guy out. So if you want to finish this map quickly, just have Runan attack him. But the S-Stock is also effective against armors, but remember that it's only effective against armors, not horseback units as well. So, unlike the Rapier, which is effective against both. And as you can see there, Star Runan, yes, the Rapier is Runan only, while the S-Stock is usable by anyone with enough of a ranking, or enough mastering, I should say, not enough of a ranking swords. Okay, I guess won't hurt getting Runan a little closer. See, if he attacks Runan, I get the feeling that Runan's just going to crit him into oblivion, and I kind of want Sasha to deal the final blow here. Because, yes, Sasha is kind of an S-type character, except she joins early, and she's also extremely worth training, because she does become incredibly good if trained. Mostly on virtue of what she promotes to. And that's kind of a common theme with TearRing Saga. Okay, I am actually glad that he dodged there. Garrow would have killed him, because everything here has non-existent attack speed. So 7. Now, I get the feeling as well that Sasha's probably not going to kill even with the S-Stock. Yeah, she has 7 attack power versus 15 on 10, although she does double him, so I think she will actually kill. Oh, there's a unique quote for this. That's pretty cool. Again, unique boss conversations is something that, well, I would say I miss from Modern Fire Emblem, but 3 Houses had some pretty good unique boss conversations in it. Failed the Chancellor, not the Emperor. And as always, bosses give pretty good experience. Not bad at all. And with that, the battle is over. So that was our taste of combat in TearRing Saga. Between all the cutscenes, yeah, this took quite a while, but, yeah. That's why I'm doing the bios in a separate video after all. I would highly recommend looking at Sasha's, because Sasha is very, very interesting. And yeah, when I was doing a test run, I was like, I wonder how this cutscene is going to go if Sasha died in the chapter, and then I realized when I was doing this recording that, of course, Sasha's actually a plot-critical character for this chapter. Princess of this entire island nation. That's convenient, because we want to do something. Oh, well, hopefully we're going to be roped into doing something about your evil Chancellor problem. But yeah, Runan and her know each other from before. But I mean, he's a lord and she's a blue-haired Pegasus Knight, so, is that really a surprise? And yes, she is the princess of the island nation that the Lord fled to at the start of the game. But if you're worried that she's going to be a total carbon copy of Sheeta, she's actually not. Sasha, I find, is one of this game's most interesting characters. So look forward to seeing some pretty good scenes with her in the future. Eugen is great. Eugen's a fan favourite among people who play this game. Well, I remember, milady. Yes, I'm General Eugen, the guy who doesn't forget people's names. Something tells me they're not her soldiers. Well, we weren't before, but we are familiar with this now thanks to that village. And so here's the full explanation of what exactly happened. And yes, that king is indeed Sasha's father. And unfortunately, the handful who returned just happened to be the non-noble and brave ones. You know, that's a good point. We did hear that there was Count Marlon, but the Queen somehow didn't appoint him as the Chancellor. Oh, okay. So the... So, the king did have a counterplan, and he did have a good chancellor that he trusted, probably one of the few good chancellors in all of fiction, and then he died, and then this guy came in. We fled one tyrant and just ran into another. Okay, well, she was actually smart and did what she really should do in this situation. Yeah, the whole I am not worthy thing, but, you know, turning down that offer has just screwed over the entire country. Whoops. But it seems like people are trying to get him to officially become the new Chancellor. And that was exactly what, Sasha was doing. And that would explain why the soldiers were chasing her, because Coda certainly doesn't want that letter getting to Count Marlon. And thankfully we're here to provide much more bodyguards for Sasha than just Kate. Oh yeah, that's kind of a long story. We need to get that letter to Count Marlon quickly.